Hello everyone, welcome back. In this video, I'm going to walk you through code where we create functions, where we define functions. But before we even do that, I'm going to show you that Python, as do just about every other computer language, already has built-in functions. And we're going to use those built-in functions as if somebody else wrote them for us or defined them for us. And they just made it part of the language, meaning they are atomic. They are, when you run Python, they are expected to be there. I'm also going to talk about other functions that you import that somebody else did, like the random library or the pandas library. In this case, I'm going to show you the random library. I'll show you a couple other examples. And then I'm going to show you the makeup of how you define functions. In the following videos, after this one, we will go into detail on explaining a particular function, because some functions will take parameters, some functions do not, some functions return a value, some functions do not do that, and there are different variations of how you use the functions. We're going to do all that, not in one single video. In this video, it's just an introduction, right? So you can find all of my code on GitHub, and so you have access to my GitHub. My username is otreviso, and we're going to cover that in my GitHub. So as well, you can find the code there. So at the beginning of this, I have the definition of a function and method. And you know, methods and functions are practically the same thing, except when we use the word method, we refer to the function that is part of a module or part of a library, part of an object that is instantiated from the library. And when we call those functions, we use the dot notation. So it would be like the library or the instantiation that you're calling, dot, the name of the function, and then, or the method, and then you will be running it. What's common between functions and methods is that you'll always find the parenthesis. You'll always find that parenthesis in there. So even before we go through those functions with methods, let me say there are many built-in functions already. I have documentation here where you can click and find those functions in the Python documentation. They're called built-in functions. There are also a couple of other links that are, very common links, that like W3 Schools or Geeks for Geeks, where they talk about this built-in function. So you can go there, but I'm talking about functions like print, len, like tells you, print, you know what it does. You just send something to the screen. Len will count how many variables you have, and max will pick up the maximum value of a set of numbers. And help is a function, actually. Help will give you help on a particular function. And so you can go in and explore this. We can come back in the following videos and explore this further. But right now, I just want to introduce you that there are many built-in functions. Then there are functions that come from libraries. Like in this case, I'm importing a random library. Since I'm using Anaconda, the random library is already in the background. It's already in my package, and so I can import it and I can use it. And when you use it, you say import the name of the function, and then optionally you can say as a simplified acronym. So RD is common for random. So when I use it, I'm going to get a random number. Then I say RD dot random integer, RANDINT will give me a random integer. So then I tell the range between 1 and 10, so I get a random integer. We'll be running this again in the following videos. So then I have an example of a function that doesn't return anything. It does something for me. It doesn't even take any parameters. So args0, no return, is the way I call it. You can call your functions anything you want as long as they are not a keyword for Python. And in my case, I just call it args0, no return, because you'll see I have a pattern in this lesson. So there's nothing in between the parentheses, so there's no parameters. Everything is indented. You can see the indentations. Let me highlight that for you. You can see we have several indentations, and They are from here to here. So everything that is indented after the colon, I just covered the colon for you. The colon is right here. Everything that comes after the colon is indented. So everything that is indented is part of this function. All right, everything is part of this function. So all I'm doing here within that indentation, I have two print statements. That's all it does. So that's all it does, this function. Then I'm going to show you the next function, and that is, hang on, let me get my cursor back. All right. I have another one where you get two parameters, A and B, and I do something with them, but I don't return anything. So it's arguments to, no return. So this function is similar to the previous one, except it takes two parameters, A and B, and it prints the value of the parameters and the type. You can do anything you want with those parameters. Again, I have another example here where I have a function that is going to add two numbers. It's just going to add them and display the result, but it's not going to return anything to the color of the function. So it takes x and y, it adds x plus y, it prints z, but there's no return. If we want return, we go to the next example that I have right here, where we add two numbers just like before, but this time I'm going to return the value. That means that you can call this function, and when the function returns a value, you can assign it to another variable. So that's another example. I have another example here where you have a function that has various parameters, but one of them has a default value. So when you call the function, you don't have to include all of the parameters that the function needs. You can include only those that do not have a default. So if you omit and do not include one of the default values, it will just take that default value. In this case, is the value of a variable, of a parameter m, an argument m within the function. I'm going to default it to be equal to 1. It's just an example, and just to show you that sometimes the parameter can be defaulted. Then we have another example of a function that you may come across where you have an asterisk. You have an asterisk in the name of one of the arguments. In this case, the name of the argument is args, but you can call it anything you want as long as it's not a keyword. And but if it has an asterisk, it means that there is a flexible number of parameters that are included inside that args. So it's sort of like a list. It's actually a special list. It's called a tuple, but don't worry about that concept yet. We're going to cover that in the following lesson next week. So, but what it means is that I can add as many functions as I want. So we'll do examples. In fact, when you do print, sometimes you print one word, sometimes two words and a number in print. That's because print is doing something like this. So we're going to do examples in following videos. Then we have the last example in this file is one where you have two asterisks instead of one. When you have two asterisks, it means that you're going to get a flexible number of variables, just like before, except this time each variable is a pair of things. And that pair is the name of the variable and the value of the variable. So you'll send one pair, two pairs, three pairs, four pairs. Depends, right? As many pairs as you need for that particular occasion or scenario. In this case, I am going to show you how to run that kind of function. Then at the end of this file, I leave you with some references that you can explore further, okay? And that's it. Then it's good for now. Then I'll talk to you later. You all take care now. Bye-bye.